Hello, everyone. It's Amy back at it again, and I have my second episode of Buddy Banter, which means I'm going to have a buddy with me and we're going to talk about stuff. So, you know how I like to do, Micah. I get my plugs done up front so we can get straight into it. So, tell us all about what you got going over at Planetos.
Hey everyone, it's Micah. If you don't know me, I am one of the hosts on Planetos podcast, and I'm over on Twitter at Micah_of Clark, and I often post about Songwise and Fire and any other random stuff I feel like posting about. It's my Twitter. I can do what I want.
You do what you want. You might talk about a few minor things over there.
Okay, a few minor things, just one or two.
You're a little obsessed with minor.
Planetos may be up to a couple of things as we come back from our January hiatus, because January is typically a month of not much stuff happening. January is just kind of meh. So, it's great to invite. Thanks for inviting me on, Kate. It's gonna be great to talk about this.
Hey, cheers, Kate. I'm very excited to talk about DC. Before we do that, I have to do all my plugs. I got a little sticky note here. So what I have upcoming,
brought a list.
I know. I'm just like I know. This is why I do it up front, guys, so we can get to the good stuff. I have an upcoming. I'm finally getting to that Avatar: The Last Airbender stuff that I've been talking about. So I'm writing an essay on the Air Nation, and I'm going to have a wonderful video with some guests to talk about Air Nation, airbending, all that stuff. So I'm going to have our friend Archmaester Buzzkill at Through the Moon Door, Moon Doors, 2 words, on YouTube. And Lady Triple, my friend Christina, and we think also Steven Stark will be joining us. So I'm going to be doing that sometime in February. That will not be a live stream because I hate trying to schedule around other people's streaming, so that's just going to be a video. But please, Avatar: Last Airbender fans, I am here for you. I have loved the series since it aired, and of course I study Chinese literature, so I'm all about that Eastern symbolism. So far as my Song of Ice and Fire stuff coming up, I have that Mulan essay and video I've been talking about. I'm going to compare the kind of character of Mulan from the poem and from the Disney movie to /Sorella and Brave Danny Flint. So we're going to be talking about that. And I'm also going to have an essay about yin yang and black and white symbolism in Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm going to have the one, the only Bronze Staries himself on my channel probably around March to talk about that. And his Dark Materials, I have some stuff coming up too. I won't get into it, but this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Here Be Dragons talking about WandaVision, the first 3 episodes. I'm very excited. I'm a huge X-Men fan, so I'm going to have a good time. Speaking of X-Men, John Webster film, this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be covering the first X-Men film. I'm always over on John's channel every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern talking about a movie. Please check that out. And I love me some feminist analysis, Micah. We're doing the second episode of Bleep the Patriarchy over at Nessie's channel, The Unspun Yarn. I'm going to make sure I have all those links in the description. I know I missed some links. I'm going back in and putting those in. So please check out Nessie. She has amazing content, and she deserves way more views than she gets. So February 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about the binary with Lo, and it's going to be called Bleep the Binary. So we're having fun with the titles there. And then finally, Monday, February 15th, on All Hail the Night's Queen's channel, we are going to also be streaming. We are going to have the Night's Queen's Court back again. We will be streaming about something, A Song of Ice and Fire. Okay, I swear the plugs are over. Micah, yay, I'm so glad to have you here. First of all, thank you for being my second buddy to banter with. That's right, Mr. Micah Clark here to talk to me about DC. Specifically, not necessarily the comics, although, I have read some of them, certainly not as much as I've read Marvel comics. But we're going to be talking about the shows and the movies, especially animated shows, which we both have a love for.
Yes.
So, Micah, I would say that it's tradition here at Buddy Banter to make this the first question. This is only the second episode, so it's officially tradition. This is the first question. Why did you pick this topic?
I have a knack of struggling to pick something in regards to topics. This is just how I am. But we were talking, or I was watching the stream for Wonder Woman 1984 on a John Webster film, and I thought, what, Amy loves DC Comics shows, and this was actually my train of thought. I love DC animated shows, let's talk about DC Comics shows. Why not?
Yay, I was so excited because you talk about minor characters everywhere, so I didn't want to do a repeat, but seriously, those of you who have not following Mike on Twitter, please follow him because he knows every minor character in Song of Ice and Fire creepily well. It's like they're real people for him. And
well, they are, obviously.
He might have a bit of an addiction. But yes, I'm wearing my Supergirl shirt. I was originally going to wear my Wonder Woman shirt, but Micah saw me run off to go do a wardrobe change because we changed our names to not Supergirl, not Superman. So yeah, we both really enjoy it. Micah, can you think of maybe when you were growing up your favorite DC thing?
It was essentially the Justice League animated series, but like I loved the whole bunch. Batman the animated series, me and my brothers always watched. Superman the animated series, and of course Justice League came after that. Unlimited, we watched some Static Shock when it was on TV.
Ooh, I loved Static Shock.
Yeah, Static Shock was great. I haven't actually seen the whole thing on that one. I should probably catch that up at some point.
I have seen the whole thing, and I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but if you can get a hold of Static Shock, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
It's also nice to see when DC kind of gets a little bit diverse. It's always a nice thing. But let's go ahead and start with Justice League then, Micah, since that was, so you mentioned that, and that's something that you and I both really, really enjoyed. I still, in my head, can see the opening.
I was definitely just thinking of the music. Yeah,
for like the early 2000s, it was like super hip. Kind of, if any of you guys, this is Marvel, but if anyone has seen X-Men the animated series, the ending credits has like 3D animation. Like it was the thing then, but they couldn't afford to make the whole animation 3D. So Justice League did it for the opening. So I still have like amazing memories of watching the Justice League animated series.
Yeah. Of course, I can still think of what the music to the Justice League intro is today because it's just that much of a banger.
It is. It's a bop. Definitely. So who was your favorite character in Justice League animated, Micah?
Oh, I knew this one was coming.
Of course we're going to ask favorite character.
Yeah.
Not easy to answer, but easy to ask.
I always loved how they had Superman for the animated series. He's my favorite version of Superman.
Yeah, they used the exact same animation for him, didn't they? This kind of,
because it carried off. It was in the same continuation. Yeah, so they basically used the same animation. But I always loved Superman, but I also really liked Hawkgirl and Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Because those two had a great story throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely.
But the whole crew was great. The whole team was all really well done characters.
And you know I'm bad with names, Micah, so I have to confirm. Jon Stewart is the
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. He's so much better than White Green Lantern. I mean, really. It's just so... I mean, and his story, too, was very interesting. The way that they kind of gave him more of a backstory than we're used to for the Green Lanterns, because you join this Green Lantern Corps, right? And it kind of, it seems like you would lose individuality, but Jon Stewart never lost that. And that's what I liked about his character.
Right. Like with Hal Jordan, and we'll probably get into this when we talk about the Green Lantern movie that was never made. But Hal Jordan
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's never
he's the white guy Green Lantern. He's the first one. He's more of the Paragon archetype. So there's a lot that you can miss when like doing his character and whatnot. But yeah, having Jon Stewart and developing his character in the way that they did was really compelling. And the stuff with like there was one episode where they had the first version of the superhero team of DC Comics, the Justice Society, was directly referenced as being Jon Stewart's heroes, and that was a great episode. I don't remember the name, but that was probably my favorite episode.
Yeah, it had this feel of kind of I don't know, tradition or legacy, right? When we hear.
Yeah, actually, I think that's what it was called. I think that's what that episode was called.
I don't know.
It might have been.
But what I also like about the Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, and the animated Justice League is when there's some kind of big space thing going on anytime in the show, then you see other Green Lanterns from other universes and worlds. And I really like that they're kind of these galactic defenders. They're an order, right?
Yeah.
You take a vow.
Yeah, I've always liked the Green Lanterns.
Yeah. And I know you said it didn't exist, but we got to talk about DC. We'll go back to the Justice League, but I just have to say DC's number one failure. And they had Ryan Reynolds. What the heck? And it flopped, and I want my money and my time back.
I would actually say that's the number 2 failure.
Oh, it's juicy. What would you say is DC number 1 failure?
Well, I think it's the Justice League 2017, isn't it?
Oh, Micah, spicy. Okay, I have some things that I like about it, but I would not say it's as much of a flop as the Green Lantern was, for me, personally. I cringed every second of the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, the Green Lantern movie is really bad.
Justice League 2017, if it would have, like The Flash leans into its campiness. Green Lantern movie took a kind of a serious character with serious vows and then was like, we're leading into the campiness. It's like, that wasn't the right one to pick. Like, Ryan Reynolds was a good choice, but that character was not the right pick.
Right, yeah. Like I said earlier, Hal Jordan, the character, he is a paragon archetype. He is meant to be like the kind of Arthur Dane at face value, and there's still stuff you can do with that archetype. It's just that they let Ryan Reynolds be more like his Deadpool character than being his own character. And I think that was a major problem, besides, the whole stuff with the villain Parallax being a pile of crap.
So you also mentioned Hawkgirl, and I loved her. Her name was Shiera, right?
Yep, Shiera Hall.
I don't understand how I can remember the names from this long ago, and then I will watch an episode of a new show and like an hour or two ago, and then forget the names. Anyway,
it's not as good as Justice League.
Yeah, it's because it's not as good. I loved her character, and like you said, her dynamic with Green Lantern was really fascinating. And I think what I also liked about that is, especially when she got really mad, the way that she would swing the mace and everything, her body language, she was able to really show, I think, a lot of perhaps rage that a lot of female characters are not necessarily allowed all the time. And so I really appreciate that because, I'm a Wonder Woman fan, and I liked Wonder Woman in the Justice League animated, but Hawkgirl stood out to me if we're, comparing women, which I hate to do, but I'm just saying there's 2 women on the team, so,
Yeah.
Diana was much more level-headed than Shiera, and I kind of liked the dynamic between both of them and how they were competitive in a couple of episodes, and then the last couple of seasons, they came to, kind of a girl pact agreement, if you will.
Yeah. Hawkgirl is a very, very awesome character. I remember cheering when I was first watching Justice League Unlimited. I remember when she made her reappearance, I was always like, yes!
Yes. I love it. Yeah, and then we finally also, eventually we get her backstory with, if I remember right, they did go with the kind of Egyptian thing, right? Or did they go with, that she was another race that they crash landed in Egypt?
They did both. They did both.
They did both at the same time, and wow. It was great, but I was confused.
Yeah, they did it was a magical reincarnation thing to where she was reborn, but she was reborn as the alien, and then she came to Earth, and then the stuff coincided after that.
So they did it all at once, which is fine. I'm not against it.
Right. It was at a completely different time, so it wasn't super confusing. They did the alien infiltration first, and then way later they did the revelation with the Diet Hawkman.
Yeah, and we see that in DC Legends of Tomorrow. I think the first season we get Hawkgirl, and we get her backstory, and then you get so excited, and then she's gone. And I was so mad about that, especially because
me too. I wanted more Hawkgirl.
They picked, obviously, all actors are gorgeous. It's kind of like a part of being in Hollywood. But the actor that they picked was particularly striking. Oh, it's the CW. It's just hot people with powers, basically.
Yeah.
And I'll say right now, I mean, we're going to talk, trust me, we're going to talk about the CW shows. I've seen every single one of them, and I am obsessed, trust me. So when I talk shit about them, it's because I love them. But, So I love DC Legends, actually. If you, put a gun to my head and said which CW superhero show, I would actually say DC Legends because, once again, leans into the camp. It doesn't try to be anything it's not. They're the B team, and they know they are. They're the B team from all of the random shows.
Right.
And so when I saw that they had Hawk Girl, I was like, yes, like they're not just picking from random shows. They're gonna create their own kind of canon, and I was really excited about that. So I was a little sad then when we get her backstory, and they went with the whole reincarnated.
Yeah, that's the usual story. Yeah.
Thank you for feeding the algorithm, Yogi.
Thank you, Yogi.
Hola, Pedro.
Hola, Pedro.
Yeah, so I really was excited when I saw Hawk Girl in DC Legends, and then
me too. And then
really
we basically
sad.
had the same feelings. We were just sad. I was just like, oh man, it's Hawk Girl and Hawkman. They're one of the best duos in the whole of DC Comics.
And I will have to say though, the thing with that is that
hey Matt.
The thing with that is that they did then. Luckily, they didn't just maybe add one more woman and call it good. Like, there have been more female characters in later seasons of DC Legends, but I don't think they didn't try to replace Hawk Girl, but they, at the same time, like, they're all kind of in her shadow, in my opinion, because she just had such a strong start to the show, and then we didn't get it anymore. So, but let's go back to the Justice League. We're going to get to the CW, I promise.
Yeah, we'll get there. We got time.
We'll get there. So Diana was obviously probably one of my favorites because I really liked Wonder
She was
Woman.
great. Yeah.
And I liked how she would take, the coolest thing about Justice League is they're in a freaking watchtower in space. I mean, how can you not love this show? So Batman's up there like buttons and levers, like watching over the earth. And I kind of like that when Batman, when Bruce is kind of having one of his moods, that Diana kind of naturally takes over, even though Superman is the leader, right? Superman is often gone and sent off on missions, and when Diana is in the Watchtower with Bruce, we always got some interesting scenes.
Yep. Yeah. Diana's scenes were always, like, super great. Especially with, like, her scenes with Bruce. Yeah, because they lean into the dynamic between them of, like, how Bruce will be wanting to go to a certain length, and then she'll try to pull him back, which is her typical shtick, until, when she also agrees that, we need to go this far in order to do it. Which is great. She was a great character.
Absolutely. I think that in some ways she was the conscience of the group, but I have to say the Flash.
The Flash is the glue.
There's that one episode where literally almost everyone dies and the Flash saves everyone's butt. And that's my favorite episode.
He's the glue.
Of the series. He is. He holds them together. So even though Diana is very moral, I think she also kind of can have her faults. And I think what I liked about the Flash is he was the comedic release of the show, but he also kind of, whenever everyone was fighting, whenever there are episodes where everyone's kind of at each other's throat, he's like, hey guys, let's remember that we're here to serve the people. We're here to be heroes, right?
Yep. He always had that human connection. That was always like the Flash. That's always Barry. It's Wally West in Just the Animated.
Yeah, I mean, I like Barry Allen better, but they did give him Wally West. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. They always give him that. They give it to everyone, but everyone gets that human connection that reminds them of what the real thing that matters is.
And you can say, oh, Batman, he's like, also, he's not really, even though he's the one without powers, he's not down to earth because he's rich, okay? Like, I do feel bad his parents died, but like he never wanted for anything. Because of that, obviously Barry Allen's story is different from Wally West, but he is supposed to be like a middle-class regular guy. So I really know Barry Allen's story much better and was a little bit surprised when I was watching it, and when I assumed it was Barry Allen the whole time until like one time they're like, Wally. I was like, what? That's Kid Flash. What is happening?
That's because the timing of when the comics were coming out. Barry Allen in the comics was dead from 1985. I believe that was when the big crisis happened, and up until 2008 when the Blackest Night event happened. So there was no Barry Allen between those points.
I know, and it was sad though, but for me, at the time, I had not necessarily read the comics up until that point yet. So I thought so I was like, where's Barry Allen?
Right. Well, I haven't read many of the comics either, but I I did get obsessed with like DC Comics and stuff because it was my jam. So I would like go online and be like, all right, so what's the story behind all this and all this? So I kind of learned what all the crises is and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah, and nowadays we have the internet much more accessible. At the time that I was watching Justice League Animated Series, we had one desktop computer for the whole family, which I say whole family. I'm an only child, so it was me and my parents. But the point is that I couldn't spend hours on Wikipedia like I do now, or, you know.
Right.
And there weren't as good summaries of comics as there are now. You can basically feel like you've read the comics now, even if you haven't. There are also podcasts, like I listen to this, once again, this is Marvel, I'm sorry, but I'm obsessed with the X-Men and I always have been. You know, there's this podcast I love, Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, and so I have read the X-Men comics, but it's been since middle school, so I've forgotten so much. But you can listen to episode by episode and basically feel like you've read themselves. So resources today make you feel like a comic reader. Back then, maybe not so much. So the shows, we really didn't necessarily, you know, there were, and I had some friends in school that that read the Batman comics, the Superman comics, but the Wonder Woman or the Flash, and so we were like filling in the holes for each other at lunch because I was a Flash and Wonder Woman fan, and so they would be like, "Oh, but Bruce was like this in the comics, and you know, Clark Kent did blah 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 in the comics," and I'd be like, "Yeah, but Diana blah blah blah." So we kind of like put our knowledge together. But yeah, so I really did like the Flash in the show. And I think that, like I said, there is that one episode, if you have seen the series, those watching, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where basically everyone almost dies. And then the Flash is like, but I ran fast and I saved the world.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Flash!
Yeah. He saved their butts so many times.
He also, I think, is more optimistic because he's from Central City, and it's kind of chill town compared to, like, Gotham.
It's such a chill town that in the comics there's a point to where he goes to work at a bar that his entire rogues gallery goes to, and they hang out. And like Captain Cold knows who he is. Heat Wave knows who he is, and they just hang out and chat. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
I think
the kind of the villains and the danger of the Flash comics were always downplayed compared to a lot of other comics.
Yeah.
But it was and I would argue actually that a lot of the villains were felt more human than like in, you know, I'm sorry I feel like I'm just calling out Batman the whole time, but like, you know, the Joker was
I know
crazy,
you were gonna play on Batman.
He's always just crazy. You know, in Superman, you have Lex, and he's just a rich, bald asshole. You know, but I thought that some of the villains in The Flash were actually filled out a little bit more, especially because when you have metahumans, there are people that got powers, and, you know, sometimes the powers itself was messing with their mind, or sometimes they were already kind of like Misfits, the British show. I don't know if you've seen it, Micah. But
I have not, unfortunately.
People who are already bad people then all of a sudden have powers, and it's not a good combination. So I kind of like that about Central City. You have all of a sudden, boom, there's, you know, metahumans, and the Flash is like, just gonna try and do good. And it's fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's always the situation that matters. And yeah, Flash is I would say Flash is more grounded than Batman is in terms of being with the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite joke from Flash is definitely the moment in that one episode where Lex tries to switch bodies with Gorilla Grodd, but accidentally switches Flash instead. And then he's at the mirror, and then he's like, "I'm gonna learn his secret identity." Takes the mask off, and he's like,
"I have no idea.
I have no idea who this is."
Yes.
The really ironic thing. Yeah. The really ironic thing is that the voice of Wally West in Justice League Animated Series was Michael Rosenbaum. And he played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
Did you not know that?
Oh, I did not know that. Oh.
It's super ironic, isn't it? Oh my god.
So that's exactly goes to the point we were talking about, that he was a nobody, whereas Bruce Wayne, like, you know, if he would have done that, it would have been, I'm going to find who the Batman is. Like, holy shit, that's Bruce Wayne, the billionaire. Like, anyone, well, millionaire. Nowadays, he would probably be a billionaire. But you know what I'm saying. So great. So yeah, God, there's so many great characters to talk about. We've talked about the main ones. I know Aquaman is there. If you're okay with skipping him, I am.
The Justice League version of Aquaman is like badass. So we can spend a couple minutes on him.
I don't really remember him that well. Honestly, I definitely. Okay, let's talk about Aqualad and then do John Jones, and then we'll talk a little bit Unlimited, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. How about that?
So I mean, with Aquaman in his first episode, like one of the key character moments is when Orm has him and his infant son strapped to a rock. And they're slowly falling down this ravine towards the lava. And Aquaman's hand is like trapped in something. He's trying to get it off, but he's not going to be able to get it off in time to save his son. So he takes off that little sharp piece from his belt buckle and proceeds to slice his hand off.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about it. He is actually kind of badass. I think it's really easy to discount Aquaman. Like, obviously we have Jason Momoa in the 2017 movie, and I'm like, I'm here for that. But
you're here to watch Jason Momoa.
He was mostly forgetful for me, but there were a couple times there was some shit going on.
Yeah, like Aquaman's only been in a few episodes of the Justice League animated series. Like he's only in I think 10. But the ones that he is in, he's a standout hardcore badass.
Danny's like butt ass off though.
We're not talking about that today, Danny.
Yeah, Danny. Okay, first of all, it's House Flint. We'll talk later. I love House Flint. Okay.
That's fair.
Danny's like, speaking of the Flash.
I knew it.
What about the reason we're all friends? All right, so yeah, we could talk more about Aquaman, especially when we talk about the 2017 movie.
Yeah,
John Jones, the Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter.
Holy crap.
I was so excited when, not in the Justice League animated series, but in Supergirl, when he first transformed into John Jones. I was like going nuts. I was like, this is perfect. This couldn't be any better. This is amazing. And he doesn't even look that bad. Like the CGI is not that bad.
Yeah, no, they actually did a good job with like that, and I also think that the man, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it. I don't know names well, real names versus much less character names. But in Supergirl, which once again, we're getting to the CW, I promise you. But yes, we will touch on that a smidge right now. In that the actor who plays John Jones, first of all, love that they picked a man of color, and that he also doesn't just act like that's not a thing. He said he has a line in the show. We'll definitely get to Supergirl, but he has a line in the show where he says, I now know I've walked as, a human of color, and I am treated differently. He's a shapeshifter. He could shapeshift into anyone, but he chooses that because it helps connect him to humanity and the darker sides of humanity. So in the animated series, we get him transforming into a white man, which frankly would be the easiest thing to do in our society. And that's what I loved about Supergirl, is that they didn't shy away from some of these issues. And with John Jones, I could not be more pleased. I have some gripes about that show, but John Jones is perfection. And honestly, one of the seasons I was super not into it, and I kept watching for him.
Yeah. John Jones has always been one of my, I didn't say him earlier, but he's always been one of my favorite characters. I've always loved the episodes that he was in. He always had they've always added an extra layer to his character whenever he showed up. And they even had him connect to humanity in a unique way that's both similar to Diana but extremely different all at the same time.
Yeah, and Diana, she does still have the mascara and her sisters back there, whereas John Jones doesn't have any.
He has no one except for McGann occasionally.
Yeah, McGann occasionally. Hey, and Young Justice, McGann's there. But I like Young Justice. I wish it would have got more seasons. But
there's a third.
I hate to use the word love because I'm talking about genocide, but I really like the backstory of John Jones because you can use it as an allegory for any type of racial injustice and genocide and colonialism. So that's what I really liked about it, is he comes to Earth and then he sees our faults because he's seen it happen before.
Yep.
And that's what I really liked about John Jones. And also his powers are just cool. He shapeshifts. He's like I'm sorry,
Yeah.
X-Men, I keep talking about. He's like Kitty Pryde. He can walk through walls and stuff.
Yeah, he's got Kitty Pryde. He's got he can
teleport.
shapeshift.
So he's also Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he's also Nightcrawler and he's also Mystique.
Yes, he's all the things. But he's also, there's also this idea of being a green Martian, and what that means. He's the last of his kind as well.
Yep.
They were taken over, for those of you who don't know, by the white Martians, and so he's also kind of a representative of his people. So
right, which is like a recurring theme both in Justice League animated series and in the Supergirl show, because you've got like 6 and counting last of their race people.
Yes, so many. So that's the main dudes and dudettes.
The main ones, except for
Justice
Superman.
League.
But I think we'll get to there.
Superman. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Superman because there's also this upcoming, which I think may have already premiered, Superman and Lois on the CW.
Yeah, that seems interesting.
Hard into it. So we're definitely going to talk about more Superman, don't you worry. I wanted to say, then, what do you think about Unlimited? And were you as into that as the animated Justice League animated, about the same? What changes did you like and not like about it?
I absolutely adored Unlimited. I thought that it was fantastic. Where to start? I mean, Lex Luthor is a phenomenal villain throughout the entire animated series, from Superman the animated series through Justice League to Unlimited. He is fantastic as a villain. And they started off Unlimited really great by having an episode that was not focused on the main Justice League to get you familiar with their new systems. They had Supergirl and they had Green Arrow, which Green Arrow is basically my dad.
Oh, we've got an Ollie fan over here.
This Green Arrow, this version of Green Arrow is great.
With the goatee, right?
Yeah,
he
basically
this, like, pointed beard. I love it.
Yeah, this Green Arrow was great. Black Canary was really awesome. They did a lot of great expansion with the characters they already had. Even though I wish there could have been more Wonder Woman, but we had Vixen, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of it was focused on. It was basically. So for those of you that have never seen it, Justice League Unlimited was basically the Justice League was up in their watchtower, being awesome, and they realized they needed more help. So they took on a lot of the minor heroes from DC Comics. So it's really not necessarily about the major. Yeah,
it's not about the major teams.
It's about them being mentors to.
It's about them being mentors and like how far they need to go, and they also work on like closing the character arcs.
Hi, Cassie.
They also work on closing the character arcs, like with the special epilogue episode, which is like it's a classic episode. If you haven't seen it, at least check that one out, because there's a certain scene with Batman and this girl called Ace that is just an absolute. It's like one of the best scenes that animated kids TV shows has ever done.
Yeah, it has, like we said, it has Green Arrow and Black Canary. I think Huntress also gets in there.
Yeah, Huntress shows up. Question is whether too.
Many heroes.
They do a lot, yeah. And like if you like, I used to have like the book of like DC Comics characters that would like have all the minor heroes and whatnot from that era, so I could like pinpoint and see who's in there. Like there's an episode where at an instance you'll see the hero Vibe, who is Cisco Ramon from the Flash TV series.
Yes.
He's in there for 1 second.
1 second. Yeah. I like that. I love Cisco, and oh my god. Once again, we will get to the CW.
We'll get there.
I have so many feelings.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but I think what I like is what I really liked about Justice League Unlimited is that because it was a larger scope, you had a couple of characters going on a side mission for an episode, and then the next episode you would meet more characters more in depth, right? Going on another mission. So you kind of got to know everyone, but at the same time, you also got to know the team as a whole and how they had dynamics. Like Supergirl was there and kind of living in Superman's shadow, and how does she deal with that? And then I think there was an episode where there was her clone that was like older and bustier. And it was just like
they did Power Girl as well. They did Power Girl.
Yes.
They did Power Girl without doing Power Girl.
Yeah, they gave her like 5 minutes of screen time. It's fine.
It's more than vibe.
Yeah, more than vibe. So I think that's what I really liked about Justice League Unlimited is that.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is all of these side characters we're talking about now are much more well known, like the Arrow and Black Canary, because of the CW shows.
Yep.
But at the time, no one knew crap about them. Unless you were a comic reader. Pretty much.
Unless you had been that person who owns the whole book that says DC Comics characters, and you look and be like, oh, there's 5. I guess he's not that well known.
And
he shows up in the Flash TV show.
Is another rich dude who has a lot of gadgets, so I think people kind of.
Are you saying that there's parallels between Oliver Queen and Batman and Robin Hood?
No, not at all. No, not at all. They're not even the same person. It's not like it was a copy and paste drop by DC. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what
I do that all the time.
That's what I really liked about Unlimited. So let's stay in this idea, in this kind of realm of animated. I've shit on Bruce Wayne a lot. Let's talk about Batman the Animated Series and give him his due, shall we?
A hallmark of kids animation.
Yes.
That pioneered the DC animated universe.
Absolutely.
And basically put Batman on the permanent pedestal that he cannot be moved from, no matter how hard.
Will never fall from, ever.
You can't take that off now. He's way too famous. He has to be in everything. Batman the Animated Series, it's like if you just watch the intro opening, if you haven't seen it, it does
this is the ending of the opening.
Yep.
Once again, they were super into the 3D animation for openings at this time.
It tells you all you need to know about the tone and what kind of story you'll be watching. Mm-hmm. Yes, the show that created Harley Quinn. That was her. She was never in the comics before this. That was her first appearance. Was on the show. And
there we go. There she is.
There she is.
Yeah.
The other guy can go. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, whatever. The other dude, whatever. No, we'll definitely talk about Harley Quinn. But like you were saying, Micah, the tone of the show is what I remember more than anything. Really.
Yeah. Like most people had been used to the cheesier Batman, like the Adam West and the early comics, until Batman 1989. Michael Keaton portrayed a much different Batman than what most people had been used to by that time. Like there have been some shifts by that point into the Batman we know today. And then that was, of course, they had the other movies come out. But then this show really delved into that tone of the sort of noir tone, where he would be fighting all these people, and there would be some really dark elements, like with Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze's whole story is just dark.
Yeah. I don't think they sugarcoated that much for a children's animated
show.
They
didn't.
That's another reason why it was so memorable.
I believe there have been scenes where like characters are like they don't show them dead, but like characters who die
come back again.
They never come back. It's like, where did they go? Oh, they're not coming back. They went to go get groceries.
Yeah,
but
they went to go get a pack of smokes 15 years ago, just like your dad left.
Yeah, and like of course the comics also delved into the darker side of Batman, and Jason Todd happened, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and I actually did a rewatch maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and one of the things that I found interesting about this show is that it kept that it kind of kept that feeling, but it didn't have necessarily the kind of chapter by chapter aspect like we had with this. Once again, I'm sorry, this is Marvel, but I'm obsessed with X-Men. The X-Men animated series, you would have multi-part episodes, and the episodes would build on each other. But Batman the Animated Series was quote-unquote traditional, and then it usually wrapped it up within 20 minutes. And yet, it felt way more adult than most animated shows.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah,
I think
they
that
just
that was what was.
they went when they went on another limb, and like they even continued some of the tone into like the Superman animated series and Justice League animated series with certain things, like with Felix Faust, or all of the finale of Superman's third season, I believe, concerning Darkseid.
Yeah. And if I remember right, didn't they get in trouble for guns? Was this the series that did it? They had to keep changing the animation until it looked
I
enough
believe
not
so.
like
I
a
believe this
modern
was
gun.
that one.
Like it had to look kind of futuristic. Otherwise, it looked too much like a gun. So they had to keep changing. I think this is the right one.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. Or it may have been Batman
the guns
Beyond.
Are like square. You know, they look kind
yeah,
of like phasers from Star Trek, basically.
They're like, you can show these people nearly get run over by a train. You can show these people get half their face fried. You could show a lady stuck in a coma that she will die if she leaves this chamber, but you can't show a gun.
You can't show a gun, yeah. So
this guy, he can fall in acid. You could show him throw his quote girlfriend quote off of a building because you didn't care for her anymore at all.
Yeah.
But you can't show guns.
I was about to say, in the first place? No.
I corrected myself. I was like, that's not the right word.
But it did have, though, I mean, you know, those in the chat have been talking about, we got to talk about Harley Quinn and whatever, this dude next to her, whatever, I don't know.
Harley Quinn has really made it big, and I'm here for it. I'm glad that they are developing her character because she's a character that deserves to be. As a fan of minor characters, and she was a minor character for a long time, I love seeing the exploration she has gotten of growing past Joker, whether it be in various forms throughout an animated series that really explored very well, and a certain movie that she was the best part in.
Wait, are you talking about Birds of Prey?
I'm talking about Suicide Squad.
Nice! There we go. Okay. I was about to say, though, Birds of Prey was one of my favorite movies that's come out in the past couple of years.
I haven't seen it yet.
Amazing. Oh, then I won't give you any spoilers, but she's just as badass as you want her to be, so watch Birds of Prey. So we have her also on the big screen, too. I would say on the big screen, but it's quarantine, so no one's really seeing anything on the big screen, but technically, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, also Suicide Squad, she is the main attraction.
Yep. And like she's literally the only reason to watch that movie.
Yeah, do it.
Go ahead, do it.
So do you have any other thoughts about Batman the Animated Series, Micah, before we move on?
Nothing much that I'll basically just be repeating things I say about Justice League the Animated Series. Had great characters, great animation, great villains. His villains were really good. But yeah, it was an awesome classic. Yeah,
while we're on the subject of Batman, you had mentioned when we were DMing about this, Batman Beyond, pardon me. I watched it, I swear. So
you better have. It was good.
I watched growing up, and that's kind of his protege, basically.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, one of them, right?
The one that got to actually be Batman afterwards.
Right.
Permanently.
You also have a little bit of an updated, more, Batman animated series is late 90s to early 2000s. This is going to be that sweet early 2000s futuristic kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, just check out its intro if you haven't seen it, everybody. It's wild. Yeah. Like, just like the animated series even had a point where they referenced Batman Beyond. They had them go to the future. And, like,
yes, I remember
there's this really great moment where Batman from the past Batman is questioning somebody. Then old Bruce Wayne walks up and he's like, that's how I used to question people. And he, like, walks into the camera and he's like, this is how you do an interrogation.
Batman Beyond, I don't remember too much about it, but I do remember liking it because I was not a teen yet. I was like a preteen, but it was kind of a kid who was messing up and trying to figure out life while also trying to save his city. And that was kind of cool compared to
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, who always felt very adult.
It was kind of like if Peter Parker got to be Batman's sidekick. And that's who Terry McGinnis. That's the main character. That's who he reminds me of. He's kind of a little bit, kind of like more of a, like he's a little bit more abrupt than Peter Parker is. He's got a lot of differences than Peter Parker, but he does kind of have that same setting he came from, like a high school type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what I remember from Batman Beyond, it was also really good because DC just had that string of animated shows that just all just went bam, 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 bam.
It was really a golden age for DC as far as
it's definitely their golden age,
which is our name for the stream. Yeah, it was. Obviously we have the CW, which is what I would call the Silver Age, but I would definitely call these animated series the golden age of DC on the TV, just because, the kind of fan base that was built around these, I don't think that will ever quite be replicated with the CW shows.
Anna's got a question there in the chat. So Anna, yeah, this question. So with DC Comics, a lot of men write them.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Especially with like Batman. Batman, when I say he went up onto a pedestal, I mean like a golden pillar that is as wide as a city and as tall as a mountain. And Batman suddenly got so much attention that I think sometimes they ran out of ideas. Or they just wanted to go into the shock factor. And it was incredibly annoying. Like, none of those characters needed that. Especially, well, actually, everyone that you mentioned. But, yeah, none of them needed that. Like, Bruce and Talia could have just, like, had a nice night together. Like, they could have done that. And Damian would still be the same.
It's almost like, maybe there was a show that perhaps you and I have watched, Micah, that is, let's call it Shmame of Schmones, that added a rape that was unnecessary. No, I'm misremembering something, I'm sure. Yeah,
I don't know, I feel like we're close with that one.
Be stronger when she was already strong, and obviously the show writers just didn't understand that. Anyway.
Yeah. Like, the Killing Joke thing is like a massive like shock factor comic, and it was just an incredibly dark thing where, although it isn't Joker's character to do a whole string of events where he's just like, I want to see how far I can go before Batman kills me. Like, what do I have to do that? Well, there are these options, and like that fits in Joker's character, and I'm not entirely sure like what else you would need to do, even if Barbara's character preceding her role as Oracle was kind of cool. It was also kind of demeaning because she didn't get to be the action-packed Batgirl anymore. She was stuck in a chair a lot of the time.
And I would say, we've been talking about heroes, obviously, but as far as villains, I will give Batman this. Joker is probably one of the most prevalent and well-known comic book villains.
Yeah. I would say he's the number one well-known DC Comics villain.
And he has been portrayed the most amount of times. And that is because there is something about this idea of madness that I think audience members are fascinated by. We kind of want to, either it can be dismissed as, well, he's crazy, or we want to know what made him this way, right? And I think that's why he's a fascinating villain. And I would say, as far as most interesting and well-developed villain in all of comics, I think number one is Magneto, but that's because I'm a huge X fan. But I would put number two for me, Joker, actually. And
I don't know, Joker's great.
Yeah. So I think that's the strength of Batman, even though I kind of joke that, like, come on, Bruce, you're a rich boy who's really privileged, all this and that. But the reason that Batman is able to, the comics and the shows and the movies is able to set that tone is because of Joker, basically.
Yeah, like, you have Batman who has this incredibly high moral ground, and they constantly remind him This is what the opposite you looks like. This is your if Batman were Brandon Stark, this is your Euron Greyjoy. This is the insane other part of you that could be where you go or where anyone could go. The constant reminder of what Batman has to stop.
Yeah, and you have this like not figure. It's kind of this setting of Arkham Asylum that is so you see it in the Batman video games, and it always makes an appearance in any movie series or show. And
Yep.
it is kind of this idea of Gotham City is hard, and you're on the brink of going mad living there, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to
I'm pretty sure every civilian in Gotham has had some time in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Reflective. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I like Magneto because I'm such an X-Men fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joker is the most well-known comic book villain.
Her previous comment, I do want to acknowledge a point. Like with the stuff that they do, the comics do go to a lot of like early teens, and there is a lot to do with like fan service and whatnot, similar to what Japan Animation does with their fan service of sexualization and whatnot. That is, I it's a good point. The gender demographics and whatnot are also a lure.
Yeah, and I do think that keeping the audience's attention was always at the forefront of any writer's room, but especially a lot of these animated series were very experimental at the time. Now we think of them as these like set in stone classics, but at the time, especially when they were working toward the end of, wanting to make sure that they make the end of the season interesting enough that they'll get renewed, it was grueling work to try and make sure that people were still paying attention. Yeah,
definitely.
So we have that. So anyway, so that's Batman Beyond. So I'm ready to move on from Bruce Wayne if you are, Micah.
Fine by me.
You know what? I'm gonna pick the next topic, and I want to talk about Teen Titans because we've been talking about all of these A-list heroes. Let's talk about the B-list heroes. You got Robin, who was Batman's sidekick, and he goes off and he's broody, and he founds his own team, the Titans. So this is what I think you and I both, Micah, think when we think Teen Titans.
That's the classic team right there.
So
Robin, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Raven.
Exactly. And we have this, I still see it in my head, like the Benihana chase scene that one of them had. They had on a lot of good music. They had a lot of Japanese artists doing really fun, quirky music, poppy music for it.
Yeah, they had a lot of...
It was a really fun show. But at the same time, you also, I will say, Micah, talk about tone. It was a fun show, but when you get Slade, that was actually really serious to me as a kid. Slade as the villain.
They nailed the characters here. In some ways, I think that they did better than in Justice League. Sometimes, like what every single member of the Teen Titans got an enormous amount of fleshing out. Like you had an entire episode where Beast Boy and Cyborg go into Raven's mind and experience her different personalities and the walls that she puts up around herself to keep herself from becoming like her father. That episode always stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm. It's a very psychological episode, which I think that what I liked about Teen Titans is that they did trust their audience, even though they knew most of us were kids, to get that kind of major psychological work, right? Yeah. Yeah. I like this point about Joker, too, even though we've moved on.
Yes, I think that Pedro, that is a good point. It works for, I think, Joker and Batman in general. I've said this a couple times already. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Raven Anna.
Raven was
great. I really like Starfire, but I found her a little too, which most people would say, a little too cheery. And I liked that Raven, even though you could call her maybe slightly mildly depressed, she was also, of all of them, the most realistic about the world and how, well, I mean, her dad was
her dad's a demon.
Basically a devil, so...
Basically a demon king, yeah.
Yeah, so she knows that evil exists and that it's not all rainbows and while we're talking about this, I did just want to give a shout out to the live action series going on HBO called Titans. I have watched every episode. I am obsessed. The opening is a banger, and I'm sorry, like, everyone, I'm gonna hum it, but it's like dun 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 dun. It's like really, it pumps me up. But more than anything, Starfire is a person of color, and I'm so freaking here for it. And Raven is aged down a little bit, and I kind of like that. She's a little bit more naive, not as worldly as the Raven that we normally get. Beast Boy, in my opinion, is depowered. He literally just turns into a tiger and once into a snake. Not cool.
Is it the CGI budget?
I wonder. But we also have Hawk and Dove. They have
yes, Hawk and Dove. I was surprised when they joined in. I was like, wow, they don't get any representation.
Right? We have Superboy, who's a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor. We have Wonder Girl, who was...
Yep, I see Donna. I see her.
Yes, I love Donna.
She actually gets TV representation.
She actually does. And so we have all these great... And then we also have not only Dick Grayson, who was Robin and then turned into Nightwing, but then we also have Jason Todd, another...
Ooh, yes. And I think I saw Ravager there as well, Deathstroke's daughter. That's pretty great that she's there.
They mainly just call her Rose in the show. But yes, we also have Deathstroke's daughter. So we have a banger cast. Now,
that is a pretty big.
Are you ready for, like, my footnotes? The acting needs work. And the writing needs even more work. And Dick Grayson, okay, the guy who plays him is Australian, and he is really hot. But he has no acting skills. And I want to like him so bad, but it's really hard. I just end up being like, okay, he's hot, and I just have to accept that he's not talented.
When the trailer first came out, it kind of like let me down a little bit because the writing itself did show a little bit when they were like, oh, where's Batman? Then it cuts to Dick Grayson, he's just like, fuck Batman.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's very edgy of you.
And then like Wonder Girl, Donna, her actor killed every scene and needed way more screen time. And they pan back to Dick Grayson. I'm like, no, give it back to my girl. She knows what she's doing. Come on.
Donna Troy needs more love anyway.
Boy, love him. Did not get enough screen time. So I think they're a little too hyper-focused on Dick Grayson. And quite frankly, his actor does not have the talent that I think a lot of the cast does. The woman who plays Starfire kills it. And I really like what they're doing with her character. And I kind of do like that they didn't do the classic doesn't have correct English grammar thing, because that would have been distracting in live action. It's funny in animation.
In kids TV, yeah.
Yeah, but it would have been weird in live action. I do also want to shout out Teen Titans Go, which I have not seen because I refuse to, because this is my Titans and it will be forever. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit of a purist about my Titans. But it's like a little bit of a cheapy animation.
Okay, you showed it again.
It's a little bit of a cheapy animation from what I can tell. I have no idea about the writing or anything. Maybe it's awesome. You can check it out for yourself. But what Micah was saying, the OG Teen Titans animated had those times, like Raven's whole arc of finding out who she is and trying to find an identity for herself separate from her father is one of my favorite arcs in all of DC animation. It kills. And whenever Starfire goes back to her home planet, that's also an amazing arc.
Yeah.
Because she's like royalty. She's got to kind of figure it out. And she's kind of got a thing going with Robin, but then she has to kind of be in an arranged marriage. It's a thing. It's really interesting. Because you have,
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And I will say, though, it is a thing of early 2000s to have a person of color either in live action or animated and not quite get there as far as filling them out. So Cyborg, pardon me, I'm still thinking about X-Men. It's because I'm talking about Tomorrow on John Webster Film at 7 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, Cyborg, not that filled out of a character compared to the others. He kind of has this, it's a little bit of a one to two dimensional character, but he also has that backstory of being an amazing football player who was hurt, right? And kind of lost his physical ability and had to become non-human in order to get it back. And I think that was interesting, and they did do that well.
Yeah. I agree. And that is
Pedro,
quite a thin line.
like,
it's quite a thin line, Pedro.
Like, on point, Pedro. That is exactly how it feels the whole time you're watching, because Dick Grayson is a little screwed up in that he has trouble with his own feelings. But the actor could okay. I don't know if they've been renewed for another season. Those in the chat, if you know they have HBO's Titans, let me know. But like, if they are renewed for a new season, he needs to try. He needs to kind of take some risks on acting in the next season, because I was not feeling it, especially the second season. I was like, no, dude, you're supposed to be the main character. Stop it. Anyway. But how about Robin in the original animated Teen Titans? He was very interesting. I really enjoyed him. And they really pretty much left, from what I can remember, they pretty much left Batman out of it. And in the live action Titans, he's like in the shadow of Bruce Wayne. And by the way, A Song of Ice and Fire fans, watch the Titans live action, because you might recognize Bruce Wayne from Game of Thrones, so you should watch it just for that big reveal. I won't say who it is. Anyway.
it's Stephen Dillane, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Stannis. That's he plays Stannis in the show.
Oh. Totally. Because he just screams.
He would be a great older Bruce Wayne.
Rich charisma, so.
He would be a great older Bruce Wayne.
I love that you always say actor names, and you're like, Amy will totally get this. I'm like, Micah, you should know by now. I'm bad with names. So we have Robin in the OG Teen Titans animated. I think what I kind of liked is actually the scenes where he was alone, kind of in his chambers, especially around the time when he was really clashing with Slade, and he was wanting to confront Slade by himself without the team. Those were always interesting parts of the show.
Yeah. He was super interesting in the show, even though he's still a kid. He's like 14 in the show. But yeah, he was still super interesting, and it's interesting how they had Slade be the kind of anti-Batman, while not having Batman in that whole show. Like, there's a point where Slade's like, I could make you my own son. I could be your father.
Yeah, he has this like, I could make you my protege thing going on.
Yeah, he has that whole complex there, and then Robin's like, nope, I already got one.
Also, like, begrudgingly recognizes Robin's talent too, which is kind of.
Oh yeah, that's completely within Deathstroke's character. I love Deathstroke. He's a really badass villain. He's the kind of mercenary who, when he always knows who he's fighting, and that will always inflict like what he does and how he acts, and it's always super interesting. Well, whenever they do it right.
Arrow, don't we? The CW show.
Yes, he is. He's in season. He's in season 2 primarily. And then he like pops in and out every now and then. But I only watched up. I only watched up to season. I was only up to season 4 in Arrow, and then I was just kind of like, meh.
It's for the best. We'll get to the CW for sure. So, any closing comments on the animated Teen Titans?
Not that
live
much.
Action, either one, just Teen Titans in general.
Not that much. I haven't actually watched the Titans live action yet.
Well, I'll do one more plug. Like I said, not a huge fan of some parts of it, but it is very interesting. And if you do want eye candy, the guy that plays Dick Grayson is hot. So there you go.
Oh, hey, Aegon. Looks like Aegon joined in.
Oh, hey. Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about this plug. So thank you, Aegon. I'm on too many things. Tomorrow, Saturday, the 23rd, at 3 Eastern. Yes. We will be talking about the news that Dunkin' Egg might be made into a series by HBO. So I'm going to be on there with Aegon and my friend Lo the Links on Yogi's channel. That is Through the Moon Door. Moon Door is 2 words. So hey, Aegon, thanks for showing up. So we just finished, Aegon, to catch you up, we just finished talking about Teen Titans. So we're going to go on. So would you, Micah, I shall give you options. Do you want to talk about the CW shows next, or do you want to talk about the movies or Smallville, or both?
I feel like you could transition from Smallville to the movies.
Okay.
I was thinking we could take a sec to mention Smallville because that was one of my big things.
Really,
that happened.
I have not seen it.
You've not seen Smallville?
I have not, but I have friends that are obsessed with it. So let's give them.
It does a lot of this. The Smallville was really fun. It was a really cool look. It was a really cool dive into Superman's character, as well as doing very interesting things with Lex Luthor, the Kents, Lois Lane, and most of the characters. But the stuff with Lana was a little when I look back on it. But that's just typical CW romance things, as they do. But the main thing that is worthy of praise from Smallville is the relationship between Clark and Lex and how they do it. Because they start out as friends. They do a really good job of having them start out as friends, and then they slowly just crumble apart in their relationship. And it's really good, and they have really cool cameos for different superhero characters. They have a really cheesy episode where they do like a kind of mini Justice League thing. And they just they just lean into how campy that episode was. Yes, that is correct, Aegon. CW would not have been. They wouldn't have been able to do what they did without Smallville being like, "Here is Superman. This is the correct Superman."
Yes, I don't know much about Smallville, but I do know that it proved that these shows can become popular. And the CW was like, "Hello, the next 15 years of production."
It also had Hawkman. They didn't have. Yeah, they had Hawkman in for a few episodes, played by the guy who played Daniel Jackson in Stargate SG-1. And it was really cool. That version of Hawkman was very great. Kind of the old loner type who used to be part of a team. He was very cool. No Hawkgirl though, unfortunately.
Boo.
I know. Wish they could have, but.
But yeah, we can see Smallville, I think, as a really, really important stepping stone. I'm not saying it doesn't stand up as its own show, but it is well known within pop culture, even if no one has seen it. And that is, I think, even if someone like me hasn't seen it, to know about it, that shows how successful it was.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, and they take it from when he's in Kansas, right? He's not.
Yep. He starts out in Kansas, and he ends the series doing something that we teased him doing throughout the whole show, and he doesn't get to do until the very end because the studio guy said no, we cannot show him flying. It was like in a copyright thing, where they couldn't have him. They either couldn't have him fly, or they couldn't. They couldn't show the suit. They could never show the suit until like the finale.
Wow. Yeah,
but it paid off really well, and it was a great, satisfying payoff.
Yeah, I have many people in my life that are big Smallville fans, so I feel like I kind of missed the boat on it, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it out.
It's really good when it's good. That's what I'll say.
So, which movie do you want to talk about first, Micah? Do you want to talk some Justice League? Do you want to talk some Wonder Woman? Some Dark Knight?
Everyone's already talked about The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is really good. Period. Anyway.
What?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
The Dark Knight is a really good film with that basically showed what we've already talked about between Batman and Joker being complete antithesis to each other. This is like one of the ultimate explorations of it.
I think obviously I love The Dark Knight. It's an amazing film.
Yeah, it's really good.
But I think what is interesting about it is that DC has stumbled so much to make it as far as movies, and then there is the trilogy, but The Dark Knight specifically happens, and everyone is shitting their pants. Like, it changed, you can look at Marvel and say, oh, they have the Avengers, they have Iron Man, they have Thor, like, for sure. In America, those are all big franchises. Captain Marvel, I agree. No, camera, why you do that? Okay, I'm going to do this for a second until it gets better. I don't know why it's doing that. But, for sure, The Dark Knight put DC on the map as far as cinema. Like, I don't think anyone would ever argue that.
Yeah, because before the Batman movies before that were either really bad or Batman Returns, which was like, it was okay. But it had Batman and Robin and the Batman Forever didn't put a very serious light on Batman. But then Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises, they were really good. They sort of brought back that other side of Batman. No one's really seen for a long time.
I think it got the tone better than anything as far as the tone that we were talking about with the animated series, Micah, where you have this kind of dark and kind of on edge, and that to me is Gotham.
Right.
So the Dark Knight and that whole trilogy overall pretty much embodied that at any point, tragedy.
Yeah, and like it was easier for them to do with that because, of course, Batman animated series is a kids' TV show, so there was only so much they could do. They couldn't show someone getting penciled in the eye, so.
But yeah, that's our honorable mention.
That's our honorable mention. There you go. That's your Dark Knight. The fans are pleased. Let's move on.
I will say, though, if you did want to jump back to the animated series just for like 1 second, you certainly watched more of the Superman animated series than me. Did you want to say a little bit about that before we move on to full live action stuff?
Not that much. The Superman animated series is also really good. When they really got to step up after the first several episodes were a big success, they went to really strong places. Like whenever they encountered Darkseid and they had Superman fight Darkseid, it was always great. That's probably why Darkseid is probably one of my favorite DC villains, is because of his role in Superman and Justice League. The animated series, not necessarily the movies.
And I'm sorry, I totally skipped over the Superman animated series. That's because I am a big Supergirl fan, as you guys have noticed, but not a super big Superman fan, which is, my partner would have something to say about that because they really, really love Superman. So.
Superman's like a lot more deep than people would think, but not deep in the way that people think.
Yeah.
That's where, like, I say Justice League did Superman best in terms of how he looks at his own powers, but at the same time, how he views what his friends can fight. Like, he has episodes where he'll be like, you guys can't handle this. I'm the strong one, so I have to fight it. He feels like it's kind of his duty. And but of course his friends will be there to remind him, hey, you're not alone. And him feeling alone is also a great part of him, which is something that they also delve in Smallville.
Yeah.
And they don't really delve into that that much in the movies.
Yeah, I think the isolation is a big part of his character, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think so let's get to some live action movies, and I'm picking the next topic, Micah. Let's talk about The Girl. I don't want to talk about 84 because I talked about it for 3.5 hours on John Webster Film. But let's talk about the first Wonder Woman movie and Diana, the Gal Gadot version of Diana. And I mean, she's obviously gorgeous. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that. But I think also her. Why? You see that, right? My camera being thick.
I see. I see. Kind of like. I think it's like glitching out or something.
Boo. Okay, is it better
skipping now? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still kind of like doing whatever it is. I don't know, words.
I don't know what is happening. I'm sorry, audience. But yeah, I really liked the first movie a lot. The last battle scene for me was a bit much, and I feel like the movie could have been like 15 minutes.
Yeah, the movie was like really great up until they said Ares was behind everything, and then it just like fell down. Like, I don't know. It was really weird how they handled Ares, but yeah, Wonder Woman herself was like really great. Her role was pretty good. They did her basic comic origin story.
Exactly.
I liked the moment during the third act where she was confronting Dr. Poison with a gigantic tank. And she chose mercy instead of, brutally crushing someone beneath a gigantic tank. All of that was somewhat quashed when they were like, yeah, Dr. Poison's choices weren't actually hers. But
and I said I wasn't going to talk about 84, but I will say this. The classic, we must find another way that other than violence is kind of a lot of Diana's struggle.
It is a lot of her struggle, yeah.
She is a demigod. I mean, she could kill, just like with Superman, she could kill all of us.
Like, in the comics, there's only a few occasions where she has to kill. Like, there's a point where Maxwell Lord, in the comics, controls Superman and has him go bonkers. And Wonder Woman's fighting him. She gets Superman to stop fighting. She basically ties him up.
Yeah, then she gets to know that in the comics. She doesn't necessarily defeat Superman, but she basically defeats him, which is surprising because he's so overpowered in pretty much every portrayal. In my opinion, he's seen as like the strongest of the DC universe.
Yeah,
but actually, Wonder Woman, I would argue, is the strongest.
I think they're on par, but
this on the same stage.
But yeah, in the comics, there's a point where Maxwell Lord brings up a point to where I'm going to be around, and you can't stop me from controlling Superman and making him destroy everything. So it forces her to actually break his neck and kill him, which everyone was shocked and clutched their pearls. How could she do such a thing?
That was me clutching my pearls. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, Diana does have to make some hard choices, especially in the comics, but she does try and find a way if she can. And I don't want to talk about 84 because I talked about it so much on Jack Webster.
Yeah.
But the first one though was a very strong adaptation as far as kind of reintroducing her to people and introducing her to people first in some cases for the first time.
Yeah, because Wonder Woman's gotten barely any screen time, and she's the third in the trilogy. I would argue a second. I would say Batman's the third, but she's the second in the Trinity. She needs more stuff, guys. Come on. I know that the Hollywood showrunners are watching the stream. I need you guys
to give. They're fans of the channel.
Yeah, they're fans of it, obviously.
Totally.
They need to do this. We demand it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And actually, I will say, she was the best part of the Justice League movie. Other than Jason Momoa.
Yeah, her and Jason Momoa just makes whatever you're watching insanely fun.
Yes. So that's a nice segue. Let's talk about the Justice League movie. I liked the Barry Allen in this. I thought he was funny and not terribly serious, which kind of embodies the young Barry Allen. But it still had his backstory of his father. And you notice she's in the middle in this picture, too. Superman is not in the middle. She was kind of the leader in the movie, and I think that's why I liked it. Batman started out as the leader, and then she kind of took over. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. So, Justice League.
I
don't know why Warner Bros. Wanted to shove 4 new superheroes into a movie with no, I didn't like the Martha moment that much. But the main issue with the Warner Bros. DC universe is they are trying too quickly to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which many other studios wanted to do, but only a couple actually only to get one film out of it. Looking at you, Mummy. And only DC has gotten to be more than one movie, but Justice League is supposed to introduce the Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and basically Wonder Woman all in one go. And it's extremely packed.
It is.
To the point where it really hurts the movie because you don't know these people and you barely know what they're supposed to be fighting. And the stakes are the world is in danger, but you aren't connected to the world. Most of these heroes that the Riddler being you mean in Batman Forever. Or one?
I am not sure.
Oh, in the new Batman movie. Yes,
Yeah,
the Riddler
they're
is the
gonna bring
villain.
in the Riddler.
That is
Finally.
very cool.
I like him.
Anyway, back to raving on Justice League. But yeah, you get most of these heroes, their main, what DC Comics does really well is they have these beings that are usually not completely human, have connections to humanity and observe that. Superman is the last son of Krypton, allegedly, and he...
Yeah, the last son, but not the last daughter.
Not the last daughter, but also like Zod and like the whole triad of other characters.
I understand.
Yeah. Actually, there's like a bunch of them. And you have Green Lantern, who's involved with a lot of aliens, looking at humanity. You have Wonder Woman, who's secluded from humanity for most of her life, and then she comes to it. You have Batman and Flash, who are basically on the ground of humanity, rising up. And then you have...
I would argue Batman is in the upper echelons.
I was he's already pretty up there. But
he doesn't have to worry about the poors like we do.
No. And then you have Cyborg.
We got 5 minutes of his backstory, Micah. Isn't that enough for you?
You got 5 minutes of visuals.
Okay. Okay. Of all the shitty meat on the Justice League movie we could do, can I talk about 2 scenes that I actually liked? And then we can go back to shitting on it. I liked the scene where the Flash is running and Superman is going all crazy. He forgot who he was. He's just been brought back to life. Spoilers, I guess? Why are you watching the stream?
No.
Anyway, keep watching the stream. Anyway, so he's like stopping all of the heroes that are trying to subdue him. And then the Flash is like, I got this. I'll just run up behind him. And then Superman is also really fast. So he basically, in real time, is like turning and looking at the Flash. And the Flash is like that's one of the funniest scenes ever. Because he's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that was really funny.
That was funny. And then the second, and I like these moments of humor. So I will also throw out a second humorous scene, which is where we don't get much from Jason Momoa except for him being shirtless and gorgeous. But we do get that one scene where they're off to the like really important mission, and he's sitting there and he goes, I guess I'm just scared because I just, blah, 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 all these like really internal deep feelings. And then he realizes that the lasso of truth that Wonder Woman has is around him. And I thought that was freaking hilarious. So I really liked those 2 scenes. And the scene also, I guess I'm adding a third scene, where the Flash is like saving people by running their car really fast. And then he looks to his right and Superman is flying a whole building full of people saving them. And it's just like kind of the competitive nature of those 2 in the movie. I thought that was
right. And like Pedro brings up a good point in the chat, which good night, Pedro. Buenos noches.
Is it this one, Micah?
DC, they want it to be darker in contrast to the MCU and sort of copy Batman. But their issue was that Batman is a lot of the darker side of he's a lot of the darker side of DC Comics. Like Wonder Woman does get dark, but Wonder Woman's not constantly dark. Superman, he's the light side to Batman's dark side. He has dark stuff, but they're not. I mean, he's not a monotone character in order to make him dark. And like, yeah, but and then like it also like is pretty jarring in terms of like the comedy in Justice League doesn't feel like what the past films set up because Joss Whedon had to do all the reshoots, and you can tell. You can tell. You can really tell.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing about a film is you really do have to set a tone at the beginning and make it consistent through the end, and that's definitely where Justice League fails. The 2017, not the animated series, which is irreproachable and amazing and perfect.
Yep, correct. The correct opinions. Yeah,
that's why we're on this stream together.
The Snyder cut of Justice League is coming out, and it's going to be interesting to see that because, yeah, Yeah, Justice League did do cutesy humor well, which is fine. Like,
Yeah.
that's the humor that was, like, the Justice League animated series had, like, that moment where Lex Luthor is in Wally West's body, and he's like, I'm gonna find out who this is, takes off his mask, and he's like, who the hell is this kid? Like, that's great. That's
my God.
what I'm used
the
to with
animated
Justice
series
League.
has so many amazing moments. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, so that, I mean, like, so closing thoughts about Justice League 2017 live action. Micah, what do you think? Other than bleh.
I just want Warner Bros. To hit the restart button, think the plan through.
Was it as bad as this, though?
Yeah, but for different reasons.
Okay. I'll take it. It's nuanced. I'll take it.
Yeah, Warner Bros. I know you're watching this. Hit the restart button. Because you guys need to plan. You need to plan stuff like this out. It's a big universe, and you want to jump. They want to jump right in with Justice League versus Darkseid, but cutting out a lot of setup for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that your point is well taken, Micah. That we had all of these characters that were introduced really quickly, and we didn't have the time to care about them yet. I think that's a really good point.
Yes, Jess, DC does have inherently dark villains. But, yeah. But the villains are contrasted with, like, Darkseid is, like, what Superman would become. Joker is what Batman would become. But, like, the heroes in themselves and, like, the stories aren't always completely, like, dark like that.
Kelly, I assume you're talking about
Kelly.
Gotham,
I understand every thought you have about Penguin. And Fish Mooney, I completely understand. I don't have a Fish Mooney pop figure lying around my house somewhere.
I have no notes. I've not seen all of Gotham, but I have seen the first, definitely the first season. I think
I've seen the first season, and this is our segue into the CW shows, right?
Yes, it is, Micah. You know we're at the same wavelength.
Booyah.
Booyah.
Yeah, Gotham was really great for that, where you got to see, like, you know me, I'm a guy who loves to hate villains, and Gotham is all that. You get Penguin, you get Riddler, you get Fish Mooney, who's a brand new character, and she's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
You get, like, Joker, question mark. Yeah, you get, like, the whole slew of them. And it's pretty great to see how they all become who they are. And yes, that's, of course, a major factor.
Very hot.
That they all look great.
Yes.
Even Penguin.
I mean, yes.
Like, yeah, like somehow.
It's kind of a shtick to not be, like, to be a little gross looking and short, but whatever.
Yeah.
Instead, he's just hot. And you know what? I'm here for.
Unfortunately, I've only seen a couple seasons, though, because there was a point where I just kind of fell off of watching CW. And
what? Micah.
I know, I'm sorry.
Get at it.
I know.
How dare you? Well, you're going to talk about it for the next 30 minutes, and you're going to like it, Micah. Because it all started with Arrow.
It started with this guy.
This dude, Mr. Oliver Queen.
And it was great for, three seasons. It got to be great for 3 seasons, so it did
what it needed to do.
Yeah,
which
it
was
set off
inspire.
Flash and Supergirl. That's what it did.
Exactly, it inspired better shows, and I'm going to give it credit for that. I will say, Sarah and Laura Lance were the reason I kept watching the show, even past. I did see more than just the first 3 seasons, unfortunately. But and Felicity, Sarah, and Laura were the best parts of the show. And every time Oliver Queen was by himself in a scene, I was like, can we get back to the ladies? Because like not interesting. And I will say, Michael, what did you think about the constant flashbacks to the island that he was on?
Island?
I don't remember the name, which is hilarious because it's Chinese.
It was, that is funny.
Right?
I don't remember the name.
That's how bad
the island was super interesting. But like I don't remember what the finale of it is. I think they blew it up at the fifth season when they caught up with the years, but I do think it was really interesting to show how he got his skills at an early date, and to have like a. It's true, Anna. There are no complaints when Oliver had no shirt, but like having him have like this whole relationship with Deathstroke pre the show was pretty cool to have, and how he sort of changed on the island and stuff was cool to see. But
Okay.
I thought it was a neat gimmick. Did you look it up?
You're seeing live you're seeing
Research.
live research from me, Amy. It is, they call it Lian Yu. Micah, you're not going to believe this. That's not the correct way to pronounce it.
Oh my gosh.
It's Lian Yu. So Lian Yu is supposed to mean purgatory, and that is the island that he is stranded on. And yeah, that is technically true. Lian Yu is like means purgatory, but specifically also in the Catholic sense, it doesn't have to be, but it does usually in Chinese mean the Catholic idea of purgatory.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lian Yu, and every time, now I remember it, because every time Oliver said Lian Yu, I was like, like, anytime you see I-A-N in Chinese, unless there's like a little apostrophe, it's E-N and not E-on. So like I'm sorry, everyone sit down. We have a
it's all right.
Chinese session. So there's a city in China called Xi'an, and it had a little apostrophe. Is that right? Yeah, apostrophe. And if it didn't have that apostrophe, it would be Qian. So it should not be Li on you. It should be Lian Yu. Thank you for coming to my Chinese class. Okay.
Pleasure to be here.
And yeah, that's one way to spell it, Aegon. Another way is, this is the sort of or correct way to say it is Lian Yu. Yes. Anyway, so okay, I was so busy researching, I didn't hear your comment on what you thought about the flashing back, Micah, and the words.
I thought it was a cool gimmick to have to explain his backstory and how he got skilled and whatnot, like with his training with Deathstroke and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what I'm gonna say, Micah? It does have a little bit of Orientalist vibes where he has this like, Chinese master teaching him, how to shoot an arrow. But you know what? It wasn't as bad as it has been.
Batman was taught by a organization of assassins in Tibet, so I don't think he was the only one to have those. Which they actually used.
Maybe they did pronounce it correctly in the show Aegon. It's been so long since I've seen it. Maybe maybe they did say Lian Yu. Anyway, some of them I thought said Lian Yu. Anyway, it's a minor thing. The thing about Arrow that I liked is actually, like I said, that it allowed other shows to spin off, such as DC Legends, where you have Sarah Lance kind of coming into her own as a character, which I really appreciated because Sarah Lance was always basically the love interest that he cheated on, or that he cheated on her sister with.
Yeah, I was super annoyed with how they wrote her like throughout the seasons because she died, came back, died again, came back, died, came back, and then went to Legends. She died like 4 times, and Laurel and her dad had to go through the same shtick every season.
Oh, she's back. Oh, we're mourning.
That was one of the things that pushed me away from the show, was that constantly happened, and I was like, do something else. Just go ahead and make Diggle Green Lantern. No, you're gonna do this.
Not to mention, if they had Sarah Lance coming back so many times, why did Laurel have to die permanently? I know she was like written off the show, but it's come on.
Yeah,
they could have brought her back to life and had her like live her life happily
or die again, like
with
Sarah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Speedy's outfit was cool. I did like the outfits that they had. Those were cool.
And oh god, Roy, right?
Yes, Roy Harper was in it.
He was so cute, and I don't usually ship. Those that know me know that I'm not really into shipping characters, but I was really wanting him and Ollie's younger sister to make it.
Yeah, they were nice.
They were a cute couple, but she had to grow beyond that. And I actually liked his. Oh God, what? I'm told you I'm so bad at names, Micah. His younger sister came into her own in the later seasons, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Speedy's a good character. Yeah, and then So, like, a cool thing with, like, Green Arrow is how they use, like, the comic history, of course. Like, Green Arrow had very specific friendships. He had a friendship with Green Lantern, and he had a friendship with Flash. So, of course, that's how they introduced Flash, right? He shows up in the second season and kicks off his show. I think his sister's name is Thea or something. I think it's Thea.
Yeah, I think you're right. But did you mention the Flash?
I think I did mention the Flash.
I think you might have, because that's actually my favorite. It's between DC Legends of Tomorrow and the Flash as far as my favorite CW superhero show.
The Flash did great for really kicking off what Arrow started.
Yeah, it did, and it had those really great crossover episodes when Arrow was still airing. So I was watching Arrow and the Flash and Supergirl even later at the same time, and seeing them come together and do these crossover episodes when they're all having things going on in their respective series was actually really well done. And DC actually does crossovers better than Marvel. I said it.
Marvel has like 4?
And Marvel Comics itself is huge into crossovers. Huge. So,
oh, you mean the comics? Okay.
Yeah, the comics. I don't know necessarily. I know I'm more familiar with Marvel Comics crossovers than the DC Comics crossover. But I'm saying on the screen, actually as shows, their crossovers, I think, actually are a little bit more smooth than the movie Marvel crossovers in some ways.
Yeah, because it's super fun to see since I've like researched like what all the DC Comics crisis events were. It's fun to see like every time they do their yearly crossover event, it's like their own version of a different DC Comics crisis event. Like they did the Crisis on Infinite Earths. They did the one with the mind controlling aliens. I believe the Dominators they were called. Great name.
They dominate. That's what they do.
That's what they do. Yeah. I really liked Flash for what I watched from it the first few seasons. When I watch
it for the plot.
Yes, you do.
For the plot. I do. And what they have, the way that he has his band of friends around him. We mentioned Cisco earlier, and then we also have Snow.
You have Caitlin Snow, which by the way, you saw the movie Sky High, right? Have you seen that?
She was the Vine.
Yeah, she was a Vine lady in Sky High.
She was so good in Sky High. I loved Sky High. Oh,
so like when they were starting Flash, and they were like, we're casting her as Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost. I was like,
Kelly, as always, you are the queen of comics, and I bow down to you. Yes. Okay. I have read the X-Men Teen Titans crossover online through I used to have a Marvel Unlimited account, I don't anymore. But yes, I have read that. Or did I read it? Okay, I read it. I'm pretty sure I read it. It was interesting. That or I heard a podcast about it. It's always hard to remember if I heard about it.
It was super interesting as someone who's like, known a lot of DC characters through, research in the shows and whatnot, to see Killer Frost come in before she's actually Killer Frost. So that's a super interesting thing.
Yeah, and she's and I kind of like that they had her original backstory with, I believe it was Robbie, her fiance.
Yep, the first Firestorm.
Who then becomes Firestorm. And it was relevant. They didn't just give us a backstory to feel sorry for her. He does come back into play. But at the same time, they don't beat that dead horse, When he comes back, they kind of have a rekindling, but then they break it off. And, I like that rather than having this woman constantly pining after a man. Micah, that's one of my pet peeves. So I really appreciated that she mourned for her fiance, but she didn't, she wasn't caught up on him so much. And so I really appreciated that. And also, I love the adopted father of the Flash, who he played on Law and Order as Detective Green, and he always plays a cop, and I love him. He also was
Henry?
on Broadway. He played in Rent.
You're talking about, yeah.
The dad character, it's totally...
The dad or the cop?
The adopted dad. So not his dad who's in jail. Not Barry's dad who's in jail, but Barry's adopted dad, Detective West, who then has Iris.
He was great.
Wally as well. And I will say, Wally West, I love the guy who played the Kid Flash. The reason he disappears is because he is currently now a hip-hop singer. And you're welcome, world, because he is fabulous, and he is here, and he is queer, and I love him. Anyway,
Nice.
he literally has a song, or a line in one of his songs where he's like, I can quit the Flash if I want to. And I was like, yes, you can, queen. Yes, you can. Do what you want. Anyway, so he had like a lot of success really quickly, and he really wanted to do music, and he saw acting as just kind of a way to get out there. So he is now doing his passion, which is singing, and you go.
That's awesome.
Glen Coco, you go. Anyway.
Yeah, as Anna mentioned, I want to just mention how the Flash TV series gets the Rogues, which are Flash's group of villains, which the Flash show goes beyond Flash's own group of villains. They dabble in everyone. But Captain Cold and Heatwave, Leonard Snart, and Mick Rory, I believe Heatwave's name is, they are nailed perfectly. They're the best versions of those two characters from the comics on screen, period. They're just both great.
And we see them more in DC Legends, which I think we'll probably just go ahead and talk about next, because there is a lot of crossover. Because we do see Heatwave, and then we see a little bit of Leonard Snart in there as well, because, they time travel in DC Legends. They get all sorts of characters from different timelines. It's amazing. We will talk about DC Legends, trust me. But a couple more things about The Flash. This is a small thing, Micah, but I love it. Season 3 or 4, spoiler alert, I guess, Iris was supposed to die on a certain day in May, and that is my birthday. So if you go figure that out, this is some Amy Blackfire trivia, that's my birthday. So the day that season premiered, when Iris was supposed to die, I was like, happy birthday to me!
All right, really, so I'm going to go rewatch The Flash real quick.
They literally just picked whatever day that the episode premieres on during late May, but that was my birthday, and I was really excited about that. That was when they did the futuristic speedster. I can't remember his name. Anyway. It
was something that started with an S. I don't know. At that point, I was done.
It wasn't the guy who went back in time and killed Barry's mom.
That's Reverse Flash.
Yes, it was the other dude.
It was the freaking. I don't know.
He was not now.
Thawne Reverse Flash is way more interesting.
I agree. So this was actually, I think, the weakest villain, but he was supposed to kill Iris West Allen on my birthday, and that is important to me. Other than him, though, I would say it was something like that, Anna.
Yeah, it was like Xantivar or something like that. I don't care for him. I like Reverse Flash a lot more. Speaking of Reverse Flash, Barrowman, or not Barrowman, the guy who played the guy in the wheelchair in the first season, and then they're like, actually, he's evil the whole time. His character.
Savitar. Once again.
Savitar.
Live research. So you were really close, Anna. Savitar. Yeah, he was honestly the most boring villain of all of them. And I will say also, Wells. I freaking love Wells.
Wells,
no matter
yes.
what timeline they
Harrison Wells, that's his name.
Harrison Wells, yeah, whether he is, and I love all of the little references that they do. They basically have a guy that's like H.G. Wells, right? And then they have a guy that's like an adventurer. He's kind of like, oh my god, I'm so bad at this. Who's the guy that has the whip and the hat? No, I got nothing.
Hat? I don't know.
And he tries to steal the treasure. No? Yeah, okay.
I shouldn't. Oh, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones.
All of these Wells have
he never uses his lip.
To other pop culture, and one of them is supposed to be this guy who wants to be a writer, and he's H.G. Wells, which is obviously a very famous science fiction writer. So lots of interesting stuff. I love what they do with Wells all over the timeline. And The Flash does dip into the different timelines, but obviously DC takes it on crack, and we're going to talk about that next. But ending thoughts about The Flash CW show, Micah.
It's great, and I should finish watching it.
And you should.
I should for the plot.
I will say, Savitar, that one season is the weakest, but other than that, it is probably. Other than that, if you take out that season, it is the strongest CW show as far as writing, storytelling, character development, for sure. But, Micah, I have to talk about my love, which is DC Legends of Tomorrow. Because here you've got So you've got their Cyril Lance badass captain right in the middle. So they basically are on this time ship, going through time, saving time, being awesome. And then you've got Snart right there, right? Captain Cold, and then you have Heatwave next to him. And this is from the first season, so you do have Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Unfortunately, they do not last. But then you also have, oh my gosh, we just talked about him. The two dudes that come together.
Captain Cold and Heatwave.
No, not just that. Where it's like the old professor guy and a younger guy. It was originally Ronnie, but now it's this kid. I got it. We're really bad at remembering things. This stream, obviously. He's basically the version of the Human Torch, but it's the DC version of Human Torch.
Firestorm. Firestorm.
So it's this basically this old white professor and this young black man that have to fusion. If you guys are Dragon Ball Z fans, and then they come together and they're Firestorm. So he's just the Professor Smarts and the young man's agility together, and that's really fun. And then we also have the guy who has this basically robotic thing, and he can turn really small.
The Atom. They do the Atom, which is really cool.
Yes, and he has this thing with Felicity, which is where we have that Arrow DC Legends crossover, which is awesome.
They have that one bit where he's working on his suit. I believe it's in the Arrow that he's working on his suit, and then the building explodes. When that happened, I was like, he fixed it. He's tiny now. He's good.
Okay. Aegon, I totally get you, bro. Legends is dumb, and it's supposed to be dumb, and it's supposed to be really weird.
At least they don't kill Sarah Lance 6 times.
Oh my god, seriously. What I like about it is the time travel. I love the timey-wimey stuff. It is my jam.
I will say
they basically have a TARDIS. I mean, it's amazing.
You know what's even more hilarious is not only do they have a TARDIS, but the guy who plays the time traveler is from Doctor Who. He played one of the companions.
So for those of you that are Doctor Who nerds, I think you will like DC Legends. Also, it has this guy who is a historian who is Steel. He turns into... I just keep comparing everyone to X-Men, but he's basically the Colossus of the DC universe. He can turn into the Steel guy. Yeah, they have Steel.
Oh,
later seasons, Micah, keep watching.
They put in so many...
Rory. We do not forget Rory. We will never forget Rory. Oh my god.
Well, they just got so many characters in there, and there's some where I'm like, okay, they have them in the team. That's interesting. Putting Captain Cold and Heatwave into your main superhero team is such a wild card. I love it.
That's the thing is they're not superheroes. They're legends. As they mention often in the show, they're different in that they are there to
most of them are superheroes.
The time in general, but they're not necessarily good guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most of them are good guys.
They're there to do the job, and you're right.
Most of them are good guys.
I'm not having it, Amy, with your nuanced view of DC Legends. No, you are right, though. But
that's not Adam.
For those of you who have not seen DC Legends, one of the best parts is how Rory he's a criminal. He's been a criminal all his life. He joined the DC Legends very begrudgingly. He also writes romance novels under a female pen name, and I am here for it. This show is wild, and it's supposed to be weird, and it's supposed to be kind of the B-list characters from all of these CW shows coming together and doing timey-wimey stuff. And it's really fun. It's so much fun. So if you're looking for kind of a superhero show that isn't necessarily serious like Arrow, and is campy, but a little bit more, the danger feels more real than Flash, DC Legends is exactly what you need, is what I'm saying.
All right.
And Sarah Lance doesn't die every 5 minutes.
We should probably talk about Supergirl here because we're nearing the 2 hours.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, Supergirl's great. Again, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I catch bits of it because some of my family members are watching it. So I've caught more bits of it recently. Of course, I'm a DC nerd, so she meets the Mon-El, the guy from another planet, who was near Krypton, but it kind of got jettisoned out of the solar system. Oops.
Yes, and Anna. Yes, it's great. No, I actually have seen every episode of Supergirl. You might be surprised, Micah. Like I said, John Jones is amazing in there. We also get a little bit of McGann. We get this kind of, humans realize aliens are real and have to live with them in harmony kind of thing. A little bit, God, I'm just talking about X-Men all day. But really similar to mutants living with humans in the X-Men universe, right? There's tension going on.
Right. And Supergirl is a great character to use that with.
And this is the show that I'm reading. This is, I believe her name is Melissa Benoit. I'm not 100% on that.
That sounds right. I'm not sure on the pronunciation.
She's also really fun. I listened to her on a podcast just talking to someone about, it was just one of those informal interview podcasts. She's actually a really wonderful person. But the show itself is really great. And she also has this adopted sister who is really important to her. So there's a lot of human aspects to Supergirl that I really like. And she also, has that thing with that guy, and so you've got a little bit of romance. I think Supergirl has it all. Yay! For CW. So I really think that Supergirl has it all. So you should definitely check out Supergirl. And it was originally, I believe, on CBS and then went to the CW, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was. The first season was CBS, I believe, and then it went to CW. But
and it was meant to be a CW show. I don't know why it didn't start out on CW.
Well, from what I've seen of it, it is pretty good, and I did like it.
I like it too. So let's start. I'm just going to talk a smidgen about the more minor DC, so-called minor DC CW shows. And I did want to talk a little bit about Black Lightning. And the reason, there are many reasons I want to talk about it. First of all, it's a great show. And second of all, the representation in Black Lightning is amazing. And I really wish that the CW shows would be a little bit better about representation overall on all of their superhero shows rather than just creating a quote-unquote black superhero show and calling it good. But Black Lightning is really good. You have you have this Black Lightning himself, who is an older man. He's in a place called Freeland, which is modeled a little bit after Chicago, kind of fused with New York. And so it's a more diverse city, and it does have some issues with crime. But also mostly it has under-resourced communities, and so it's really misunderstood. So what I really like about that is, as you can see in this picture, he is with one of his daughters. He has two daughters, and they are both really strong women, and he is, they basically do, like the Flash timeline, he's a metahuman, and there are metahumans in Freeland, which is his city. And so both of his daughters are therefore born metahumans. And so they're fighting crime, but they're also dealing with a lot of issues of kind of like mafia stuff going on, and also dealing with a lot of politics and corruption within the city politician base, which, doesn't really surprise anyone. So I think it's really well balanced as far as the action feeling real, the danger feeling real, and also it's able to approach and address a lot of issues that I think most CW superhero shows can't, just because by virtue it is a more diverse show. So that's our honorable mention for Black Lightning. I wish I could talk about it more because I have seen all of it. It is an amazing show. But I did also want to do an honorable mention for there's actually another newest show, but the second to last newest show, which is Stargirl. Only has one season so far. But I actually think it was a very strong start. Have you seen it, Micah?
I have not seen it. I think I will. I was very surprised when I learned that it was coming out because Stargirl is a very minor character.
Yes.
I'm like, I was like thinking, I'm like, what could they, like, what does she bring to the table that like kind of like Supergirl wouldn't? Like she's different from Supergirl, but Supergirl has sort of a lot of stuff you can work with that I wasn't sure if you could with Stargirl, but I've seen glimpses, and I know they're doing stuff with Justice Society. It looks like
they are
that original team.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm likely gonna give it a shot at some point.
You should, Micah. Especially like I said, most of the shows we've been talking about have 2 to 5 seasons, but Stargirl only has 1. So if you want a CW show that you can quickly watch the first season and decide from there, Stargirl is it for you. And it has that classic high school superhero thing going on, right? So, like with Black Lightning, it does follow his daughters who are in high school, but it also follows him he's a principal of the school, right? So he's an adult. The Flash, he's already out of college. Arrow, very adult. But if you kind of want that teen superhero, like Stargirl's for you. And I actually really like it. I think that it has that right amount of action and also the right amount of humor. And the danger feels dangerous, which is always nice. It's campy, but not to the point where you're like, everyone's gonna live anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I actually really like Stargirl, and I do recommend it. It also, talk about diversity, it could be better, but it is slightly more, her friends are not just all white, let's put it that way. So she builds a team based off of the Justice Society?
She builds the team?
Yes. So she
that's the
basically
twist.
uses the spoiler. She uses the
I'm just surprised. I'm like, wow, with Stargirl, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so she's basically a stand-in for Starman. So she has his stuff.
Right,
not his costume because she had to like get it redone, but like the staff.
Yeah.
The cosmic staff. She has the costumes of the other members of the Justice Society. Is it Justice Society? I'm saying it right?
Yeah, it's Society.
Great.
Yeah,
and so she, like the guy with the hourglass man, she has all that. So she finds people her age in high school to take over their roles. So it's kind of like a revamping of it. And I really liked it. And it is a lot more woke. There are there are people that are of different races, and there are some queer people, so I do appreciate that. That's cool. I really recommend Stargirl. Okay, one more honorable mention because it is very, very new, but the CW is like, we're going all in on Superman then. So in Supergirl, we do have a couple of cameos by this man playing I can't. Everything's backwards on StreamYard, so wait.
Nope. There you go. No,
wait,
no, other way. There you go. No, you got it.
That guy playing Superman, he played a werewolf in Teen Wolf. That's what
I recognize him. Yes, I did see Teen Wolf. I'm sorry, everyone.
I haven't seen it yet. It says January 2020. It is January 2020, so it's happening now. Folks.
I actually saw a teaser. And apparently it's going to be on HBO Max as well, which explains what the teaser was like. So the teaser felt very HBO. I was just like, this is CW? This doesn't feel like CW, but all right.
And so I don't know anything about it, so I just wanted to give it a shout out. And Batwoman, I also want to give a shout out. So they have done a recasting. It only has, to my knowledge, one season out, and they are way to show up, Jada. Just kidding. That's my co-host over at John Webster Film. Please check him out. I will put his links in the description. I need to update the description, but yes. So back to Anna, though. Batwoman, yes. So they have basically Kane is the last name, but they do have a relative of Bruce Wayne taking over as Batwoman. They have recast her as a woman of color, and I'm so here for it. I'm so excited for season 2. They have the casting done. They're going to start shooting, but unfortunately with COVID-19, we do have some delays. But I'm very excited for it. I thought the first season was very strong. Micah, I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not seen that one.
It's really great.
I kind of fell off the CW train at a point.
I get that, but I am basically in an abusive relationship with the CW, and I will never leave. I will watch every minute of every hour except for the last seasons of Arrow that the CW has to offer. And we also, of course, another honorable mention, I have seen every minute of Lucifer as well.
I've seen an episode of Lucifer. I saw an episode of Lucifer, and I was like,
I watch it for the plot, Micah.
I understand. I completely understand.
Not for the shirtless hot British dude. Anyway, so yeah, Lucifer is also DC on the TV, and I'm not super into his thing with the detective. I believe her name is Chloe. Anna can correct me if I'm wrong. It was too much will they or won't they for too many seasons, It kind of was like, it took too long, but when it did happen, I suppose it was a lot of a payoff. What I really like about Lucifer actually is his relationship with another angel, his brother, Jesus.
Gabriel? Michael?
It starts with
Raphael?
No, it's none of the big ones you think of. It's like
Azrael?
No. Help me in the chat.
Aziraphale?
It starts with an A.
Aziraphale?
Anyway,
Done.
I'll let the chat help me out on that.
I was thinking of Aziraphale. Amenadiel?
Amenadiel. Yes, Amenadiel. You both helped me at the same time. Yes, Amenadiel. Yeah, they have this, and it's cute because Amenadiel calls him Lucy, and technically, if he were to call Amenadiel, he would call him Amy. So I'm like, that'd be kind of cute if he did. But that was really, I like their dynamic more than anything in the show. And also, he has Lucifer has a demon that comes with him to Earth. It's basically the demon, the devil in Los Angeles, which I'm totally here for as someone who lives in Southern California. I'm so here for it into the whole plot. He's just like, I'm going to own a nightclub and be the devil in Los Angeles. Like, yes. I know, right, Leaf? I don't understand. Why is he not just called Amy? Anyway, so yes. So he has a Amenadiel, and he has Mazikeen, known as Maze, who is his demon there. And there's just a lot of really good stuff going on in Lucifer. But that definitely deserves an honorable mention as far as DC on the TV. I'm looking through our images, and I think we've talked about everything that we said we were going to talk about, Micah. So do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Not that much. I did want to mention the show Constantine had a really solid first season, and the guy that Matt Ryan played Constantine couldn't have gotten a better person to play Constantine. And then they got him back on Legends, and that was
great. He was on Legends as well. So this is from the first season, but he becomes a permanent part of the Legends in later seasons. And
they couldn't have gotten anyone else to be.
He was so good. He's so good at Constantine. He has that kind of pessimism, but also in the end, he'll like, fine, I'll do the right thing and save everyone kind of Constantine.
Yeah.
With the smoking,
gotta love him.
Like he has the mannerisms and everything down. He has the
he's perfect. There's nothing wrong with his performance as Constantine.
I'm gonna reference a lyric from The Weeknd, who is a rapper, Micah, and singer. I don't know if you know, but he has a "Searching for My Soul," Constantine. He has that as like a lyric. Like Constantine is known for like this guy who's kind of his soul is lost, but he's kind of trying to find it. But he's magical, but he also has this constant hell-fearing attitude that I find really fascinating.
All right. I think that's like all that I had to say. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that because Constantine is one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, Constantine is great, and we have so many honorable mentions to make. Unfortunately, /fortunately, the DC universe is huge. And even some, great heroes that are in comics have never even made it on the TV. So this is, limited
like
to...
No one's seen Aztec yet. So I'm waiting to see if someone actually does Aztec. There's a hero whose name is Aztec.
I mean...
I don't know what he does. I don't think anyone does.
He grows corn. Sorry, I don't know about Aztec culture.
I don't know.
Micah, once again, tell us where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Micah_of Clark. I am one of the hosts on the Planet Toast podcast, and you see us upload, I'll say more than Maester Monthly. But I'm mostly on Twitter. People who know me in Slacks know where I am. And then usually
all the links are in the description for Micah for sure. And I'm going to go back and
I don't have that many. I'm
too.
going to be on a stream next Wednesday at Yogi's Through the Moon Door channel at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And you can find me talking about my top 10-ish minor characters.
I have not seen Swamp Thing, Jess, so no, it's not getting its own video.
I haven't seen Swamp Thing either. I should.
Get it? But I haven't seen it. Sorry.
We didn't even talk about Young Justice, but that could take its own video if I rewatch the whole thing.
Okay, all of the Justice League and Unlimited and Young Justice deserves its own stream. Maybe that's in the
basically,
future.
If we do like a rewatch.
But yeah, no, I want to rewatch all of it and have an awesome stream about it with you, Micah. So we'll do something like that in the future.
So yeah, that's where you can find me, and I'll be talking about my top 10-ish minor characters next week on Yogi's channel.
And that's your thing, Micah. That is your brand.
That's my thing. I'm going to be talking about...
It's like my Chinese literature, but your minor character.
Yep.
It's your thing.
Yep. It's going to be a fun list. It's going to be full of surprises.
Oh my God, John, we do not have enough time to talk about Watchmen because I love.
No, we did not talk
so
about
much.
Watchmen.
So much.
Sorry, John.
Watchmen. I would love to do a whole separate stream on Watchmen. Anyway, so I'm gonna give you the plugs that I have just coming up this week because if you want to hear what I have going on in the future, once this is posted, rewind to the beginning because I list literally everything I'm on. But tomorrow, this Saturday, the 23rd, John Webster Film, we're talking about X-Men, the first movie. I am always streaming over at John Webster Film on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern with my buddy, John Webster, and we are always talking about amazing movies. We have a lot coming up. We're going to talk about X-Men, and the next Saturday after that, we're going to be talking about Pan's Labyrinth, and then February is going to be a whole month of amazing movies for Black History Month. We're going to have a great time with some awesome guests. So that's going to be very fun. Sunday, literally the next day, at 6 p.m. Eastern, going to be on Here We Dragons, and we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. I'm obsessed with X-Men, in case you haven't noticed, because it's with DC Stream, and I referenced X-Men 50 times. So we're going to be having a good time. But like I said, I have a lot of content coming up on my Amy Blackfire. I'm referring to myself in the third person, my YouTube channel. Hey,
you never have a lot going on.
There's a little icon on the bottom right of this video that's a picture of me, all cartoonish. And if you click that, you are subscribed to this channel. I would love it if you would subscribe. I check them obsessively, and when I go up in subscribers, it makes me feel good. So please do that. Please please comment on this video. Follow me on Twitter. I think I'm a fun follow. Mostly it is me plugging my own stuff, but it's also me telling you what I randomly dreamed, and I also set up polls. I love polling people who watch my stuff. What do you think about Selling of Ice and Fire, His Dark Materials, Avatar: The Last Airbender? I want to know your opinions, so I have lots of polls going on. I am Amy Poehler, Poller, so please follow me on Twitter at Amy Blackfire. I have fun over there. Micah is also a fun follow. He has some great minor character musings here and there. So both of our Twitters are in the descriptions. And once again, thank you so much to everyone in the chat. I had such a great time with you all tonight. And Micah, my goodness, thank you for being my buddy. And thank you for bantering with me on my second ever episode of Buddy Banter.
No problem. It was great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. Even though it took me a month to think of what I should talk about.
But when you thought of it, it was an amazing topic. And so next month's Buddy Banter is going to be with Lo the Lynx. And as far as I know, they and I will be talking about politics in fantasy and why we should talk about contemporary politics and fantasy. It's going to get heated. Be in the chat telling me all your opinions.
Oh, yes, I'll be in the chat for that one.
We're going to talk about Death of the Author and why you're wrong. I'm just kidding.
I'm never wrong.
We're going to have a really good time. So thank you so much. Once again, Micah, thank you for being my buddy, and thank you for bantering with me. And we will see you next time. Like I said, I have a lot coming up, but next time's Buddy Banter will be with Lo. We're going to have a great time. So see you then. Bye-bye.